The Roman army masses in a large formation. Their plan is simply to use their massive numerical advantage to steamroller through Hannibal's army. Hannibal stretches his men into a single thin line to face the Roman onslaught.
Then, just to show the Romans he's not frightened of them, he actually advances the center of that line to put his men, when they start the battle, nearer to the Romans than they needed to be.
Hidden behind this line, on either side, are his best heavy infantry, the Libyans.
The most disciplined troops in Hannibal's army are the Libyan infantrymen raised from North Africa. These are very well trained and they're very heavily equipped. And these people can go head to head against Roman legionaries and stand a good chance of winning.
Hannibal then sends his cavalry on each flank to fight their opposite numbers on the Roman side.
All he emphasizes to his cavalry officers is that they've got to win quickly. Time is the critical thing at the Battle of Cannae. Hannibal's plan relies upon each thing happening in sequence, and if one fails, the whole thing would unravel.
The Roman juggernaut then meets the thin line of Hannibal's troops, and after fierce fighting, Hannibal's line begins to give in the center.
The Romans are successful at first. They push back the Celtic and Spanish infantry, forcing the crescent to turn inside out. Now, they think they're winning. That's exactly what Hannibal wants them to think.
At this stage, the Roman armies send more and more men into the center to keep pressing their advantage. As the fighting line is pushed back, the Romans find themselves with Hannibal's Libyans on either flank. Now Hannibal gets these, his best infantry, to wheel round and attack the Roman army from both sides. The Roman army has been drawn into a trap. Finally, Hannibal's cavalry, having defeated the Romans, regroup and attack from behind. The Roman army has been completely surrounded.
Tactically, the Roman army hasn't got a hope. Maybe some 50,000 men are surrounded in one dense mass. They can't fight effectively, they're trapped. But then Hannibal's army has to kill them, and that's when the grim part of Cannae begins.
What followed was a massacre. Rome's army was, to all intents and purposes, annihilated. But what makes this particularly terrifying is this isn't mechanized fighting. This is all done hand to hand. So complete was this victory that Hannibal's tactics are still taught in military academies, more than 2,000 years later. And in the First Gulf War in 1991, Hannibal's tactics at Cannae were employed by the UN commander, General Storman Norman Schwarzkopf.
I learned many things from the study of the Battle of Cannae that I applied to Desert Storm.
So you can see basically what our problem was at that time. We were outnumbered as a minimum 3-2 as far as troops were concerned. We were outnumbered as far as tanks were concerned, and we had to come up with some way to make up the difference.
We used a little misdirection, and we allowed the Iraqis to think that we were going to do something that we weren't going to do, and they bought it.
Like Hannibal, Schwarzkopf had his enemy focus its attention in one place while he enveloped and surrounded them.
We really used economy of force, just as Hannibal did. We used economy of force to fix the enemy, fix the strength of the enemy, keep them focused in one area, while we went ahead and used maneuver to get around behind them and on their flanks.
At the same time, we launched the 1st Armored Division, the 3rd Armored Division, and because of our deception plan and the way it worked, we didn't even have to worry about a barrier. We just went right around the enemy and were behind him in no time at all.